Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome back to the Realm of Inspiration, Inspired Awakening, Episode 6. I'm gonna say that this Inspired Awakening has been the hardest to get out. I sat down to record what I wanted this Inspired Awakening to be, which was like retrograde insights from a solar being, which is still what this Inspired Awakening is about, but what the new title is how a jellyfish sting, influenced my retrograde experience. How my soul contract with the jellyfish that I didn't even realize was such a deep contract when I first did a channeling with them, that I'll link to this video. I didn't even realize how deep my soul connection was with them at that time, how that contract influenced me in the moment and how it's influencing me now and how it's still affecting my life. And I look over here because this was really the left side of my body was the most affected by the jellyfish experience. The other video that was really hard to get out was the mermaid one because I lost some footage of it. I had it, I lost it, I tried putting it from the GoPro to my Google Drive and things got lost along the way. So what I figured from that is what I can remember from that video. I'm going to try and touch on those points in this one a little bit. So basically, I don't know where to begin with this one, but there has been multiple attempts at doing this. So I'm gonna kind of go where I'm guided. I started to say that the first video I recorded was at the end of Venus retrograde, beginning of Mercury retrograde. Of course, I'm having issues with that video because I recorded it in Mercury retrograde, and I was also trying to retrieve the mermaid one during Mercury retrograde, forgetting that one of the things that can happen during Mercury retrograde is issues with technology and communication, specifically in regards to technology. Mercury retrograde is over. Today is September 21st? Yes, the 21st. So in 2 days is the Autumn Equinox when this video is coming out, and I feel like this is actually the perfect time to talk about these things. So, first and foremost, my experience with the mermaids and the jellyfish. I was doing a clairaudient check-in on Andros, an island in the Cyclades of Greece, and we were around Batis. I felt called. There was this beautiful rock formation, and I just felt really called to go there. And I did a few videos on Andros. I did the octopus meditation video. I did the messages from the crystals in the wall video. I was really inspired by Andros. I was also inspired by Coroni, and there's going to be a lot more work and a lot more stuff coming from Coroni. I also already did a lot of things in Coroni. The last Inspired Awakening I recorded in Coroni about my experience in Coroni, which is in the southern Peloponnese in Greece, a little bit further south than Kalamata. So yes, in Greece I felt a lot of inspiration. With the mermaids, I could feel like there was some portal to them in the Cyclades. And I feel like that kind of adds up with a lot of mythology around the sirens and just in general, like a lot of myths about the mermaids. You would think that them being around the islands, any island in general, makes sense. I felt a stronger portal to the Aquatic Realm in Andros than I did in Coroni, which is actually surprising because you would think because Coroni was closer to Zakynthos, and Zakynthos is a little bit known for having a lot of different marine life, that I would have felt more of a, portal there, and I was working with the turtles, but I didn't feel it as much there as I did on Andros. And it was something about the wind element. I was doing a clairaudient check-in with the rock formations, with the wind, with every element, and I kept hearing mermaids. The energy of them is there. And mermaids have been talked about before, but not in deep detail. And I know that the energy of them has been miscommunicated in some aspect as well. The mermaid frequency is a part of the aquatic realm, and they are really, what they work with is the energy of the cosmic heart and the energy of love within the aquatic realm frequency. So it is kind of like they are a combination of cosmic heart beings and aquatic realm beings into one. And that's why also in a lot of their miscommunicated stories, it has to do with like the siren song, love, making sailors fall in love. There is always truth in a miscommunication. And I would love to one day fully do a deep dive. Like, I'm going to do some work with the mermaids. I have a really big project I'm working on around the energy of Delphi, Greece, which also inspired me a lot. So I'm going to do more work with them, and maybe in the future actually do a video where I allow the head animal healer elder to speak on that, since she knows a little bit more. Part of the Elfian animal healer's purpose and mission is to help us connect with the mystical. So that includes the dragons, the phoenixes, the mermaids, the unicorns, Pegasus energy, all of that, all of those energies, all of those other realms, they hold more of the knowledge for that. What I was feeling from the mermaids was the general message that I was getting, not just from them, but also from the wind elementals and the water elementals and the rock elementals and every frequency, while I was kind of in the center of this almost cove, was that, one, we need to release any biases we may have, conscious or unconscious. We need to release any holds on identity or labels. So the biggest thing was labels create identity, and identity is the ego. So if we live too much as a label and trying to live up to a label as opposed to living up to being a being, then that's going to negatively influence us. The other message that came through from them was that the ego isn't just this like devil on your shoulder. What it really is a part of the negative polarity that we have within us, that we have the ability to reconstitute into light. And if we take that task of reconstituting the darkness within into light, that's going to affect our external reality in a positive way, because what's internal is external. So if we're able to do it within ourselves, then it's going to be easier to do it outside of ourselves, and then is also going to make our reality more positive. Because if we simply just try to ignore the ego and isolate the ego and really separate it from us and treat it like it's not a part of us, then what we're going to be doing is feeling like there is something missing within us, because it is a part of us in this physical reality, and the goal isn't just to overcome it, it's to overcome it and reconstitute it into light. And that is something that like ascended masters have done. And I'm looking because I see like the Phoenix portal. I have a painting of the Phoenix realm portal behind me because I'm connected to the dragons. So the yin to my yang is, you know, the Phoenix. So it helps to have that portal painting in my space. And thinking of Ascended Master Jesus, because what he was able to do was reconstitute his ego into the light. It's not like he was fully born without it, we're all born with it, but he was able to, at a very young age, reconstitute it into light, overcome it, and that's why he was so powerful. He didn't just overcome the ego, he turned it into light. He turned it into light and love with the frequency, you know, of God, Source, Creator. Overcoming the ego and reconstituting it into light. That is the ultimate goal. That is being in the likeness of God, because we turned it into light, and so we're not isolating the part of us that is dark. We are accepting it, we are forgiving it, we are turning it into light and love. So that's the next step, and that's something that the elves wanted to communicate back in July, because I was there around like right before the start of Venus retrograde, I believe, was when I was on Andros, and that happened. So that's what I was like channeling, trying to get that message. And I had a little GoPro, and I was also in my swimming suit, which I also feel like I wasn't fully comfortable with that in some way, so I did in a way like self-sabotage the video with my own mind, because I'm like, do I really want to put that out there? That's kind of not my vibe. I've done a channeling before, but it was like the swimsuit top I was wearing did not look like that. Like, it was like, you know, I just didn't know how fully comfortable I was making a full video like that. And so I think that that was a blessing in disguise, because I do feel like if I had put that video out there, I wouldn't have felt fully comfortable with it, because I'm more comfortable like this when I'm talking with the collective. And I did, you know, kind of feel like I didn't want an ego to be created, like, you know, the negative ego to be created about that video and being so self-conscious about everything going on in it, and then I'm just taking the message of reconstituting the ego into the light and not doing it, because then I'm allowing the negative side to affect me. So that was a blessing in disguise. So never, big message, never, like, if you think like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna do this now, and then you're like, this doesn't feel fully right, don't try and force it to happen if you don't feel comfortable with anything about it, and you might be sending negativity to what you created. And it's not about the messages, but it's about your appearance. And as a channeler, you kind of have to remove your appearance from videos, from everything. Remove what you think you look like and just accept what you're gonna look like, and not be so worried about it. And I typically never am, but I do feel like I was in that sense. So, blessing in disguise. I will do more stuff with the mermaid frequency and other realms in the future. This is the realm of inspiration. This is the Elfian realm, you know, the hub for the Elfian realm. But the elves, they work with the eternal loving friendships between all beings and all realms. And so they do want to bring forth more connection with other realms and educate about other realms and share their experience, because they want us to have that unity and that oneness and that harmony within our universe, and accepting and understanding, you know, what parts of myths are fact and fiction, because not everything is part of the imagination. The other aspect of it was like the Atlantean age, but I was hearing things from the mermaid, so I will be doing more things with the Atlantean age. I know the elves want to as well, so that is, again, in the big project we're working on. There's going to be more insight into that, and I would love to like do an Inspired Awakening channeled from the Elfian Nomad Joybringer Elder, because I'm sure he, just to if I can work with him to let him talk for a longer period of time about the Atlantean age specifically, or transfer it between all the elders to just talk about it from their perspective, fully talk about it. Maybe it'll be a full book one day. I don't know how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. And also, I am already doing a project with him in October in Oak Brook, Illinois, with Rooted Holistic Healing and Wellness Fairs. We are going to be leading a class all about finding your spiritual joy, and so he is going to be leading that class. So there is going to be more work from him, as well as he has a lot to share. Now, moving away from what the elves have to share and all the fun things that I'm going to be doing with them, I just wanted to share that with the collective all. Now to the jellyfish thing, and then I can get to my insights about the retrogrades. So, first, jellyfish. How it happened, I will not know, because I was not fully in my body, is the best way to describe it. Because I was doing a clairaudient check-in, I was doing a clairaudient check-in during this video that I was making, the mermaid video. I wasn't fully present, but I was going around and I was walking everywhere. Like, I got some good pictures too, but like, and I lost some of the footage. I was going deep, like I was going through the rocks, everything. I thought, there was a point in the video too, I was convinced I just scratched my knees on the rocks, and I just had like a little scratch from them. And there was even a point in that video, and if I can ever find that video, I will share it right away, this specific moment from it, because I lift up my leg and I go, like, I say something about, like, it's overcoming pain. So I was talking about overcoming pain, and I go, like, I'm feeling this pain in my leg, but it's okay, because I can, you know, overcome it. And I lift up my knee, and I look at it, and I do see these little marks on my knee, but I believe that it's because I scratched my knees on the rocks, and I kept believing that I did that. I had no idea it was a jellyfish sting. Like, sting, bite. The guy said bite. At first he said bite, and then he said sting. So I honestly don't know. It looked like a bite, like, because it didn't, like, I don't know, it didn't stick to me. That's the funny thing. So I think it was multiple of them, or at least one stung me a few times. I vaguely remember when it happened. I don't know what I was talking about. I couldn't, when we were able to get the video the first time and I was watching it back, I could not find the exact moment it happened because I didn't say anything. I was talking, and there was, like, if I could have, like, watched it frame for frame in detail, maybe I could have found the exact moment that it happened, but I had the camera like this. I was talking, and I remember I brushed my leg. I brushed my left leg, and this was before I, like, then went out into, like, the more open water and lifted up my leg, and I had that moment. I felt this, like, thing, and it felt like a plastic bag, and I just brushed like that, like, about the same amount of force as that, and it was gone. And I was like, that felt weird. Like, it felt like a plastic bag. I was like, oh, you know, that felt a little weird, but okay. I just spent a month prior working with sea turtles, knowing that jellyfish feel like plastic bags, but I don't know. I thought it was a plastic bag. I'm like, maybe it's a hair. Like, I don't know what it is. I mean, I think on some level I registered that it was maybe something alive, but I was so in the moment that it didn't even faze me. And, like, when I got out of the water, I didn't know what happened. I do know that the finger, I used my middle and ring finger, those fingers had marks on them too. Like, and I learned I was allergic to them. Like, I had, like, more of an allergic reaction to the sting, like, than just a sting. Like, I did go into, like, an allergic shock almost, is what the doctor said. And the doctor on Andros he was amazing. I mean, quick. I was really, like, you know, my guardian angels were, it all happened how it was supposed to happen. I know that for a fact, and I do know that it was supposed to happen, because I knew I was supposed to go into there. Like, I knew I need to go in there, like, and obviously common sense, it's a windy island, and there are jellyfish. Where are they gonna go? They're gonna go into the coves. Like, common sense, plastic bag feeling in the water when I did not see a plastic bag, probably a jellyfish. But I wasn't thinking in that way. I was thinking, okay, I'm getting these messages, and I kept being guided, and I do feel like it took something. It removed things from me, because one, I've talked about my journey with dog phobia. Oh, like, I talk about it all the time. I have that whole podcast about my journey with phobia. After that happened, I tell you, like, I literally the other day, I just went and pet a dog. Like, it's gone. So whatever was, like, left, whatever chemical reaction was left, like, in that shock, left my body. There was definitely a lot of things that happened that were removed, that the jellyfish did me a favor, and it was because I didn't know I didn't know it was a jellyfish at first, because it didn't stick to me, it left. Like, I've heard stories of people saying, like, it was stuck to me and I couldn't get it off. Like, it was gone, it left. So it's not like they were coming and, like, attacking me. If I know that there were multiple, I can kind of vaguely now, when I think about it, see the color and maybe guess what kind of jellyfish it was, but that's not relevant. What's relevant is it didn't, and I'm not encouraging go into a cove and get stung by a jellyfish, because I don't know what your soul contracts are, but for me, like, I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what it was until we got to the doctor. I know that when I got out of the water, when I saw the marks on my legs, I thought, this is like salt in the wound. This is what this is. It's like, I know I scratched myself, so it has to be like the salt aggravated it. When I went to my mom and uncle and little cousins, they're like, what happened? Like, I don't know. But they're like, okay, it's spreading, let's go. My aunt took me to the pharmacy. The pharmacy said, no, go straight to the doctor. So we went, and that's when I found out what it was. He said medusa, which is jellyfish in Greek, And like, okay, it was a jellyfish, great. And I mean, my little cousins were so cute about it. I mean, like, it didn't scare any of us from going back into the water, because we know, just don't go into a cove and you're good. And I was like, a trauma could have been created where I like didn't want to go swim, but I still did, and I like still went into the water, like I don't care. You know, I still, like, I didn't feel like it was a bad thing. I didn't feel like it was a traumatic thing. I didn't feel like it happened to cause a trauma. I felt like it happened because of the contract we had. Because I remember they are healers of the galactic neutral. And when I did the channeling about them, I remember that was like an upgrade experience for me, because when I did that channeling, that I was fully immersed in the water with the jellyfish, and I could feel their presence so deeply. And which is really funny. If I know what their soul feels like, why did I not know? Who knows? But I definitely know that I didn't feel much pain. I think the most painful experience was they had the needle in me, and after a while of it being there, like, I didn't like that feeling, and that was probably the most painful thing of the experience. Like, and that was it. And then, like, I walked everywhere. Like, I maybe, like, you know, you put sunscreen on, you can still, like, do things, and I didn't feel like it was an immense amount of pain either. So that's how I know that it was a contracted experience to happen, because there was something that only a jellyfish could take away from my auric field, from my body, from my DNA, whatever the jellyfish needed to take away, it took away. Because if I honestly don't even know if I want to share a picture. I know I have a picture of it, but it was on this leg in specific. It was right here, and it was like, it looked like a little bite, like it was like shaped like a U, and I had a few on my other leg, but not much. It was crazy, because all those marks, everything, apparently it was like going to my face too, and I didn't feel the pain. I felt a relief. Like, I felt a release, and I knew when I was in the hospital, I'm like, this is deja vu, this was meant to happen. Everything was like meant to happen. So it was a pleasant experience. I don't think I would do it again, because I don't really like needles, so I don't think I would do that again. But it felt like it did me a service, even though I had that reaction, because when I realized what it was, I'm like, well, they're healers of the galactic neutral, and when I did the channeling for them, I experienced an upgrade and ascension in my soul, so obviously they are assisting in that ascension as well. They were helping me. And how that's affected my retrograde experience is seeing everything in the positive, even if it's a seemingly negative experience, like, everything is a positive. So it's changed my mindset. It's changed how I experience things. And, like, I've had a few moments where my body will, like, have, like, the kind of, like, tense shaking to release things. If things are uncomfortable for me or things feel weird. And typically when I'm in an uncomfortable situation, my body locks and I completely freeze. What has happened for me since the jellyfish thing is that my body doesn't lock, it releases. So, like, the way my body responds to uncomfortable experiences changed. Like, so I'm not locking in that feeling, I'm letting it go. I know that I was able to cry more. Like, crying all the time was, I mean, people around me noticed. It's like, what is going on? Like, I was, like, crying. Like, I had full crying meltdowns after this jellyfish thing happened. Like, I was crying all the time. My body was releasing, like, all of these trapped, stuck emotions that I didn't know were there. I was releasing them, and I felt, like, a little bit lighter. I was able to work on the inner child integration without this, like, weight, because after a year of even doing the channeling about, like, integrating with your inner child, I haven't fully completed it yet, because I experienced some things that kind of regressed, and then it went down, and now it's up again. And now it's got to get past the galactic neutral, which is, you know, time to call them the jellyfish again. They helped. They helped. And it was like the best experience because it showed me a lot of things about the ability to just like, my soul was just a little bit elevated from the body, and I didn't feel like so much pain. And so it really is mind over matter. And that's what's gotten me through a lot of like, with retrogrades for solar beings, it is a lot. It is a lot. It is this thing that you feel like you're spinning. When there were 7, 8 planets in retrograde, you know, or, you know, 6 and then Chiron, like, when all of these planets are in retrograde around the sun, everything is switching direction. You know, as solar beings, you feel it. You feel the spinning. But my goal was to become like this sun right here, where she's at peace. You know, everything is moving around her and she's at peace. They went in a different direction. Okay, it's just a different perspective. It's not a negative thing. Every single thing is positive. Everything. Even if we think it's a bad experience. I had the mouse experience that happened a year ago. I would not like that to happen again. I thought it was a negative experience. It caused me a little bit of trauma. I will admit that. But it was positive in the sense that it taught me things. It taught me that I can rely on my parents, my mother, when I'm experiencing trauma, because when I was a kid, because of my biological father, I did distance myself from my mom and my father, you know, just because of how he was, but from my mom too, because of the trauma my dad caused. So I learned that in those experiences, I can rely on my mom. I learned that it would be nice if there was, you know, more than one person to call to try. That forced me to get out of my self-isolation of spirituality and go into the world and make friends again, and stop isolating myself in my awakening and being so worried about something disrupting my peace. Go disrupt my peace. Like, that's why I went and I camped for a month and I met all of these new people, disrupting that peace, having all these other things, and then learning how to still recenter and find myself after having all of these other things and people in my life. That experience taught me that it is so important to not get so trapped in the spiritual isolation of, I found my momentum, I found my groove, I found my energy, and I don't want anything to disrupt it. You can't avoid disruptions. You can't avoid changes. You can't avoid unforeseen circumstances. You can't avoid any of those things. If things are meant to happen, they're meant to happen. And you can't avoid it. And like, I willingly and fully went into that little covey area without any care or any thought of anything negative that could have happened. I was like, I just feel like I need to be here. And that is where I went. And so if you feel like you need to go somewhere, even if you do get stung by going there, if you feel that you were meant to be there, then you were meant to be there. And that experience was meant to happen, even if you get stung or bitten. I don't know why the word bitten was used with jellyfish. Still trying to process that. But it definitely took things away. Like, and you don't let a sting limit you, because I could have let it, like, really, like, milked that dry, like, been like, I got stung by a jellyfish and I can't do anything. No, like, I think the next day, I was like, I need to get out, I need to move, I need to do something, let's go. So we went, went into town in the evening, like, went on a walk, like, went into Batiste and really, explored as much as we could, and saw things and experienced things. And then afterwards went to Delphi. I was walking in the sun. It's like, okay, keep it out of the sun, put sunscreen on. I'm like, okay, put the sunscreen on, let's go. Let's go and spend like 5 hours in Delphi. And I did the channeling in Delphi, like, with having all of these, like, marks all over me from the jellyfish, and I had moments where, like, my knee locked up from, like, the walking and, like, still healing, and I, like, okay, took 5 seconds to, like, regroup and kept going. Like, you don't let it limit you from experiencing new things. Like, if Venus in retrograde knocked you off balance a little bit, don't let it limit you from experiencing what you're meant to. Just because you get a little hurt or a little stung or a little knocked off balance doesn't mean you can't recenter and keep going on your path. Because I knew I was meant to go to Delphi. I could have let the jellyfish thing prevented me from doing that. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do these things. It's like not seeing the limitation, seeing the possibility. That is what I've learned in the retrogrades. That's what I learned from the jellyfish. That's what I learned from the mermaid. That's what I learned from my whole experience in Greece, is that when there are limitations, you can overcome the limitations and keep going on your path. Even if it seems impossible to the ego, that's when you start reconstituting it into the light. Be like, okay, let's start seeing the positive aspect of things. This feels like a good place to wrap up. That kind of feels like all I feel like I wanted to share about this. The only other thing is you can change your direction, you can change your path, but don't change yourself to fit a label that was never meant for you to have, is the general message. But the insights into the retrograde is just, it's honestly not a negative thing by any means, and we shouldn't like change our life to fit a retrograde because we're worried that something bad might happen. It's let's allow things to happen as they happen, live life as we're going to live it, and allow the change of perspective to elevate our life in a different way. And with that, sending you love, light, and inspiration. Until next time, love and light, beautiful souls. Stay inspired.